All right, guys, let's just get right into it. So here is the A6700. Now, what I have on here currently is the 7 Artisan's 60mm f2.8 macro lens. Now, this is a manual focus lens. It's fully manual focus. There's no electronics in the lens. So in case you're unaware, when using a manual focus lens, you do need to manually focus. So you have to actually turn the focus ring. Now, on this particular lens, it's a little bit different. It's a little kind of weird because this is a macro lens, but so it's actually like zooming. It looks like I'm zooming the lens when I'm changing the focus. But what I'm actually doing is moving the focus element, and it's a macro lens, so you can get super close to your subject with a lens like this. There's tools built into the Sony cameras to help you use the camera and get accurate focus like very easy. So let me show you what I mean. All right, so as you can see here on the screen, this is what the camera looks like by default. So you really want to have touch operation enabled. And you can see right here, this little icon is the touch operation icon. Now by default, on the back of the camera, I'll show you a picture of the back of the camera, the garbage can will turn touch operation on and off. And you can see how it's making these touch operation menus go away as well. But you do want that on, so make sure that's on. And you can actually swipe to get rid of those touch operation icons. And another thing you can do is hit the display button on the back of the camera to clean up the screen a little bit. Like you can see how it looks a little less cluttered when you cycle through. So right around here, I like this one. Now I have the camera in aperture priority mode and it's in photography mode as well. This stuff will apply to video as well, just so you know. So here's the thing, when you turn the focus ring, you can look on the screen and you can see that it's like coming in and out of focus, right? But you can't really tell if it's exactly focused perfectly. So what you can do with this touch operation, you can just double tap and it'll zoom in for you. See that? And now you can click and drag around if you want to. So now you can get a really good look. And you can actually zoom in more. On the back of the camera, if you hit the center button inside the wheel here, it'll zoom in even more. And now you can super fine tune and get that focus absolutely perfect. Like right about there is as good as it's gonna get. The depth of field is extremely shallow because I'm so close and I'm at 60mm f2.8. So, and then you could just double tap and it'll go back out like so, and then we can take the photo. I actually have the self timer set. So to set the self timer, guys, let me show you that real quick. If we swipe that way, you can see up there on the top, there's that little self timer button right here. So right there, I have it set to 2 seconds. So you can change it to 10 seconds, 5 seconds, or 2 seconds. I'm just gonna leave it on 2 seconds. And then again, that OK button, you can see a little circle there. That circle is the same circle on the back of this wheel on the inside. It's like the enter button. All right, so again, self timer is set. That's how you do that. And touch operation. So now let's say I want to focus on the background. So if I double tap on the background, sometimes it takes 2 taps. I don't know, it's just how it is. And now I can focus on the background. So I can't see anything because it's so out of focus, but look at that. So now you can see the detail of the wrist strap coming into play. And again, you can zoom in more to really fine tune it, just to make sure you've got it nailed, because again, the depth of field is super, super narrow. So if there was a tiny little bug, you know, you would have to like fine tune that. And that's pretty much how it works. So now I'm just gonna hit the center button on the back of the camera, or you could just double tap to go in and out. So if I double tap, it'll zoom in, and if I double tap, it'll zoom back out. So you don't have to use the button on the back of the camera. I just find that the double tapping isn't 100%, like I haven't figured out the perfect, I guess, double tap method for it to work every single time. So the button on the back here works every single time to get out of there. So we'll take a picture of the bracelet. There we go. Hit the playback button and we'll zoom in. And you can see here, excellent. Very, very sharp, as you would expect. And that's pretty much how that works. So again, it's just like you double tap where you need to, and then once you double tap, you get that zoomed in view. You could then adjust your focus and drag this over a little bit. Because this lens kind of is zooming when you focus, you do have to adjust it a little bit. But what's so cool about using these manual focus lenses, guys, is the affordability. They're so affordable compared to the autofocus lenses, and they're really high quality as well. So that's one of the reasons why I have so many manual focus lenses. I love them. They're a lot of fun to use. They kind of make you slow down as well, so it gives you a little bit more time to develop like the proper composition and things like that. Like it kind of makes you think a little bit more about your shot. So I really enjoy using manual focus lenses. It really it's like brings the joy, you know, of photography out a little bit. And I also love just seeing what optics can do. So it's really fun playing with manual focus lenses. There's so many cheap ones. There's TT Artisans. I have this awesome TT Artisans lens right here that I'm currently reviewing, and I'm loving it so far. This is a full frame lens, but there's a bunch of crop factor lenses. TT Artisans makes a 50mm f1.2 lens. 7 Artisans makes a number of lenses as well. They make a 35mm 0.95 lens, which is really cool. The only reason I'm not using that for this demo though is because of the minimum focus distance. I need to be kind of close to my subject for this overhead scene, so I went with the macro lens. But the concept applies to all manual focus lenses, all right? So let me show you another tool inside the camera that you can enable that will help you get accurate autofocus, and it's called focus peaking. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here to AFMF, and then if you scroll down to 5, you could see we have peaking display, and peaking display is off right now. So I'm going to turn that on. We have it on middle, and the color is white, which is good, but you can change the color here. You see you have all these different colors. So depending on what you're shooting, if you're shooting a yellow flower, for example, you could use like blue or white or red and so forth. But for the most part, white works pretty good. And then the peaking amount, you can change from low to medium to high, depending on what you're doing and how much detail is required, just depending on the situation. So medium seems to work pretty good for me for this particular scene. So let me show you how it works. And it's kind of hard to see, but you could see it on that eye showing up. Let me actually turn it on high so you could see it a little bit better. And I'll change the color to, yeah, blue will be good. And you'll be able to see it much more clearly. There, now you can see the blue on the eye. See that? So let me switch to the background, and you'll be able to see it a little more on the bracelet, much more easy. See that? You can see the focus peaking. So that's telling you where the focus is. Isn't that incredible? So that's such a cool tool. And I can actually lower it now because that power is just too much. So let me lower it a little bit, and it'll give you a little more accuracy. So now you'll see there's less blue. See how there's much less blue? It's kind of hard to see. Let me change the color to yellow. There we go. Now we can see it a little better. See what I'm saying? So these tools make it so easy to use manual focus lenses. Now, when you're on a tripod and your subject's not moving, this setup works great. However, if you're hand holding and you're trying to get pictures of flowers and stuff like that, it is definitely harder to do using like this method. But I still do use it. I still do use Magnify zoom. But the difference is I usually use the electronic viewfinder, and I'll have the camera up to my eye. And what I'll do is when I get close to the subject, I'll use Magnify zoom, I'll adjust the manual focus, and then what I'll do is I'll put it in the camera in continuous shooting mode. So it'll take like rapid fire photos, like do, 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 you know, like that. I'll show you, let me see. So if we just swipe over here, we can go to continuous shooting mode, and that's instead of self timer, okay? So we can go up here and you can see if we use the directional pad, you can go to low. I usually put it on medium, like, or middle, MID, and now it'll shoot like that. So basically, again, what I'll do is I'll put the camera up to my eye, and I'll get everything dialed in using Magnify zoom. Sometimes I'll use focus peaking if there's flowers and stuff and it's really hard to tell. And then what I'll do is I'll get it as close as I possibly can, and I'll kind of like put it in rapid fire mode, and I'll just very slightly rock like forward and back, and it gives like that little bit of depth of field. So, and then I'll take about like 5 shots, and like one of those shots is like guaranteed that it'll be like where I want it, you know what I mean? But that's kind of like just a method to get an accurate shot when using manual focus lenses, when the depth of field is extremely narrow, especially when using a macro lens like this. Sometimes you have to do focus stacking and advanced methods like that. This is just super cool because there's so many lenses you can get for like fractions of the cost, guys. So it's just food for thought, something to think about. And using a manual focus lens will really give you an opportunity to get like those unbelievable background out of focus areas for a much more affordable price. So you don't have to spend thousands, you know, to get like that look. You can spend, you know, $100 and get like the TT Artisan 50mm f1.2 lens. That lens is $98, guys, and you can get like killer photos with that lens. I'll show you a couple of sample photos that I took with that lens, and I have a whole bunch of manual focus lenses, like I said, and I really like using them. It's a lot of fun, especially doing street photography and stuff like that. So that's focus peaking. I'm just going to turn that back off. All right, guys, so one other thing I wanted to show you is if you don't want to use the touchpad for double tapping to get to the Magnify zoom, you can actually program that to a custom button, which I highly recommend, because like I said, the double tapping is too hard kind of to do when you're using the viewfinder, and also it's not 100% when you double tap. Like oftentimes I'm having to tap it a couple of times. So anyways, if you go into autofocus, manual focus here, and you go into focus assistant, and you keep going over, you have focus magnifier. And if you go in there, it'll bring up the focus magnifier box. See that? And you can just touch around the screen like I was showing you earlier, but that's another way to bring it up. And you can see here, you got like instructions on the screen letting you know how this works. Now you got focus magnify time. You can make it no limit, which is what I prefer, and you can also have initial focus magnify go right to 6:1 if you want. I prefer it at just 1 though, because I like to see the scene when it zooms in so I could move it to where I want. So what I want to show you now real quick is just how to program that focus magnify to the custom C2 button. So let's just go do that real quick. And this will make your life way easier when you're using manual focus lenses. You could just hit the C2 button to bring up that focus magnifier. You don't have to worry about double tapping or none of that. So if we go over here to the little toolbox and we go to Operation Customize, what we're going to want to do is go to the photo mode there for custom key dial set. Now this will make it for just photos. So for video, you would also have to program this to C2 if you wanted to use focus magnify in video mode and have C2 do that. So if we go in here, we just have to go to the top of the camera right here. And right now you could see that custom 2 is currently set to focus area. So we're going to change that to focus magnify. And you can see right here, we could just go to focus assistant and focus magnifier. And there you have it. So now if I press the C2 button, you see that? It just pops right up. You hit it again, it zooms in, hit it again, it zooms in, hit it again, and it goes away. Very cool, right? And again, guys, you could just touch around the screen to move the focus around. If you want it back in the center, you can just hit the garbage can, it'll automatically go to the center, or you can use the directional pad to check it out. So right there, let's say I want it on the eye. I'm going to zoom in, focus, and then I'm just going to use the directional pad, because this is like zooming as I focus. Right about there. I could then click the center to zoom in a little bit more just to make sure it's perfect, like so. We're good to go. Now I'm just going to take the photo, and I have it set for the rapid fire continuous mode still. So again, that's pretty much how it works, guys, with manual focus lenses with the Sony A6700. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask below in the comments area. Happy to help. And it'd be cool if you give me a thumbs up if you found this video valuable, and it would be even cooler if you hit that subscribe button as well. All right, guys, I'll catch up with you next time. Take care.